Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our gathering song, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. This hymn was composed by Joyce Poley, a longtime leader among Unitarian Universalist musicians. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place.
Well, welcome to the members of the Substandard Quartet, who along with our own Brett Carson, Corey Wright, Safa Shakare, and Jason Levis. We're so grateful to have you with us today. Got to the important stuff first. Good morning. Welcome to the Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm the Reverend Leslie Takahashi, and my pronouns are she and her. I want to welcome those who are visiting with us today, either in our sanctuary or online. We're glad you've chosen to spend part of your week with us. And we also have a space in our Borton Hall if you need more space as you transition onto campus. We're glad to have people who we haven't seen in a while back on campus. And if you're online, we invite you to join us. If you're here, we invite you to join us for refreshments after the service. If you're online, we have a virtual coffee hour for 15 minutes after the service so that you can say hello to someone from our community. And if you're visiting either here or somewhere in the airwaves, we invite you to sign a visitor's card online as well. And we're grateful to have you do that as well. On the first Sunday of the month, following the service, which will be 2 weeks from now, those who are ready to make the commitments of membership can sign our membership book. And for those interested in participating in our annual meeting in June, where we will be doing some important things, the May signing will be the last one that allows you to do that. So next Sunday, I've got a couple announcements. I would refer you in general to our calendar, which has many, many activities on it. Next Sunday, I'll be joined here in the pulpit by our Minister Emeritus, the Reverend Dr. David Sammons, as part of our morning service. And I also want to remind us, it's one of those wonderful days where we have two options in worship. We'll be having our afternoon service, our spiritual feast called Something's Wrong in the Village. And you have two options for worship next Sunday, and we just wanted to remind you of that. This Wednesday, we plan to have our Passover Seder dinner in solidarity with those people of the Jewish faith who are also holding our wishes for peace in the world. If you are interested in participating, we invite you to sign up by tomorrow morning through our calendar so that we will know how many people are planning on attending. And we invite you to bring a dish to share for that event as well. I also want to mention in this regard that on May 7th, we will be joining others in our community to witness our opposition to the acts of hatred that have been occurring against our Jewish kin in Walnut Creek. So we'll be joining them in that as well. With all of this, we're just grateful that you're here and welcome to this beloved community.
Good morning. I'm Andrew Oswald, a member of your Board of Trustees. My pronouns are he and him. Welcome to our service. Mount Diablo Unitarian Universalist Church is a welcoming faith community. We begin our services by reading our mission together. We bring to life our Unitarian Universalist values as we seek truth and work for justice, nurture compassion and courage, reach out to each other and to our larger community of faith, bridge the divisions, wound the human family, transform ourselves and our world. Spring is a great time to get involved. Check out the weekly email and Beacon newsletter for the many, many things which are happening here. Sign-ups for new rounds of community circles are beginning soon. It's a great way to meet people. We are so glad to have you with us. Our expectation is that those who are attending in person have no symptoms of any communicable things going around. Thank you for honoring this commitment to be safe. A few announcements. Thanks to all who attended our Commitment Sunday, and to all who have opened our letter and made a pledge. We are now halfway to our goals. If you have not had a chance to pledge today, our pledge box is on campus, and you can always pledge online. Thanks for allowing us to move through our budgeting process. If you are new and have questions about pledging, Jim Lincoln will be glad to answer them after the service. And welcome. It's good to be together.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about the things that operate in our background that sometimes we're not even conscious of, but it would probably not be a great greeting for each other to say, so, hi, how are you, and what's in your background? So instead, let's just say we're grateful to see each other today. I'd now like to welcome the young and the young at heart to come forward and join us over here at this area. And we're trying to keep a little bit of it. We don't even need to do that today, so just wherever. It's good. We have a mindful moment that was prepared by our student chaplain, Travis McPhee, who's a little under the weather today, so I get to share Travis's words with you, so grateful for that. Come on up. Yeah, it's great. There's so much happening in our lives. Driving from thing to thing so fast it can be hard to slow down and remember the most important things. So Travis wanted you to know that he believes that one of the most important things to remember is about our world, this earth. Got a little example of Earth in a different sense over here. It's always in the background, but it deserves to be held in the front of our mind. It's like our mother, it's our home, it's like our best friends. It takes care of us, and we need to take care of it too. So because of all the distractions, taking care of our Earth means learning to slow down and come into focus and remembering our Earth and how to treat it. So we're going to take just a little bit of time to practice that. I'm going to invite you to, with me, take 3 deep breaths. So in and out, in and out, and in and out. And you notice how it got a little quiet, and in the quiet, I invite you to listen to just the sounds of the room. And allow your body and mind to calm down. Just take a moment to enjoy that feeling of calmness. And now imagine that this floor that you're sitting on is actually directly the ground. You're sitting on the crust of the earth. Think about your relationship with the earth, how we drink its waters, you breathe its air and atmosphere. Remember that you're alive because you eat the foods of this earth. You drink its waters, you breathe its air. This is a good chance for us to remember that we are part of the life that makes up this earth, and that when we care about the earth, we're caring about ourselves, our bigger self. And finally, Travis would invite you to think about one thing that you might want to say to the earth and to say it to yourself in your mind. Maybe when you walk out of here in a few minutes, you might say it to the earth itself. We invite everyone in the room to think of that. So thank you for paying attention, and we hope that you all especially remember that you are a very special part of our earth. And in honor of that, I'm going to invite Reverend Rodney to light the chalice, but I'm going to invite all of you to join with me in the words that you all say when you light the chalice in the children's chapel. We light this chalice to remind ourselves to treat all people kindly because they are our siblings, to take good care of the earth because it is our home, and to try to live lives filled with goodness and love, because that is how we will become the best people we can be. Thank you.
And now I know you all see me and you're like, no, not him again, because last time I was with you, I said that we were going to do something together and then we never did. And I got feedback that was not okay and that expectations are important. So today we are definitely going to do something, and that something is to kind of honor our earth. Yeah. Is it today is Earth Day?
Tomorrow.
And yesterday or tomorrow is Earth Day? Tomorrow is Earth Day. We celebrated it yesterday with the Climate Justice Group in Civic Park with the rest of Walnut Creek. Mm-hmm. And it was lovely. We had a table there. And we asked people to write down a hope that they had for the future of the earth. And so today we wanted you all to be able to do a similar ritual. And that will be, I brought from my hometown or home state of Texas a bunch of bluebonnet seeds, which is, for those of you who missed Texas state history, is the state flower. I know you all care. Probably as much as me. And you can come up, take a seed, the seeds are very small, and plant it in the planter that is very large. So, but before you do, I'm just going to ask you to think about what Reverend Leslie was inviting you to think about. Think about something you hope for this planet. Maybe that it cools down a little. Maybe that there's some more trees that we desperately need. I don't know what your hopes are. Only you know those. But hold on to a hope, place it into that tiny seed, and plant it in our planter, and hopefully we will see some beautiful flowers soon. And maybe Brett will play us a little music while we do that little event.
You need to remember to invite the adults to do it at the end. Are you okay?
Okay, please take a seed. The seeds are here. Thank you all, and thank you, Brett. So this will be our hopeful pot, and hopefully in a few weeks we'll see some beautiful flowers that you all will have helped plant today. And for those of you who are online, or maybe the bigger kids that are here in the sanctuary who also want to be a part of this, If you're online, please just type your hope into the chat, and during our offertory today, I will plant a seed for you, and for those of you in the room, as you drop a stone or light a candle, which is one of our rituals we do, you feel free to come to the seeds as well. Again, they're very small.
Sing our children out.
Oh, yeah. And now I'd like to invite us all to sing our children out to their activities for today.
Thank you. That was good.
May your minds be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your hearts know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Once a month, we take a collection for a cause that is in alignment with our values. And today, we have Sue Polgar telling us about our Share the Plate.
Hi, yes, I'm Sue Polgar, and my pronouns are she and her. Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. The name may be complicated, but the work they do is awesome. UUSC carries our Unitarian Universalist values into the wider world. They advance human rights through grassroots collaborations, supporting over 70 community-led human rights groups in 20 countries. Pretty awesome. The three connected areas of UUSC's work are climate justice, migration, and disaster response. Their work for climate justice brings together communities in Asia and the Pacific that are losing their lands and livelihoods to rising tides and other natural disasters. Migration work supports the right to dignity, safety, and justice along the Central American migration route and in the United States. Several UU congregations are supporting the UUSC accompaniment efforts that help immigrants move to legal status. UUSC efforts confront genocide in Burma. They witness governmental failure in Haiti and support refugees from Ukraine, especially those left out of traditional aid, women, girls, Roma, Black, and queer individuals. All this is done in collaboration with local partners. Now here's the challenge. Many UU churches contribute to the UUSC through their budgets, allocating from $1 to $25 per member. Unfortunately, we don't do that yet, so our support must come through your donations. Please be generous today as we share the plate. Write UUSC on the memo line of your check or your online donation. Cash is also welcome. And if you choose to send your donation directly to the UUSC, please note that you are with Mount Diablo UU Church. Donations over $150 will be matched by the UU Congregation of Shelter Rock, New York. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone here in the sanctuary and online. Welcome. My name is Patricia Craven, and I'm your worship associate. My pronouns are she and her. I want to start out by just mentioning that today would be my father's 110th birthday. And so it felt very appropriate when Leslie asked me to speak today. For my father had many hidden aspects in his life, and that were not directly told to me, but had great impact on how I feel and I walk in the world. There's always been some part of me that was curious about what was hidden, happening in the shadows of what we see with the naked eye, what might be underneath the words and the behaviors that are being expressed. Even as a child, peekaboo and hide and seek were some of my favorite games. They brought me great joy. As a young adult, my sister and I would often sit around and analyze other people's unconsciousness. We tried to figure out who they really were. We observed others and we made up stories about them. I guess today many of us are doing this on social media. We get just glimpses of a person, a community, a political or philosophical idea, though not necessarily the whole truth. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. The important piece is that we be aware that we are being impacted by the messages that are all around us. This early desire to understand what is hidden became my vocation in life. For those of you who don't know this, I'm a psychotherapist. In this role, I'm honored to sit with people, to be privy to their experiences, the sacred witnessing of them, coming to understand their hidden motives, desires, and their deepest selves. I once had a consultant who said to me, "It is not the unconscious that is dangerous. It is the unexamined unconsciousness." This is a tricky part of what we're going to talk about today. We do not know what we have to learn or what is unconscious, what aspects of ourselves which affect how we interact with others or how we're in relationship or what choices we make in our lives, both as individuals, as members of a community. Until we become willing to take the step to examine ourselves and uncover those things that we've tried and or been asked to keep secret. Over the years, there have been many hidden and indirect messages as to who I and others are or should be. Too many for me to share in this morning meeting. What I can say is that I have devoted my life to this process of uncovering, not just for others, but for myself. I am grateful for having many of them revealed, even though that often meant with great pain and confusion. And I look forward to having more come out of the shadows as I live my life. This will only continue to enrich my life. So as I call all of us to worship today, I wish for us to have a connection to our heart and to have courage to see what is hidden in ourselves and the world around us. This way we will be given the direction to continue to seek truth and work for justice. Blessed be.
Please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our congregational song, "There's a River Flowing in My Soul." Gospel musician and Cincinnati UU choir director Kenny Smith arranged this hymn by Rose Sanders, a contemporary advocate for abused children and the first African-American female judge in Alabama. There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul.
It is the custom in this congregation when we lose a member to death that we light a candle from our chalice. And today I'm lighting this candle to share with you the sad news of the death this week of our member Gloria Wiley. Gloria has been a friend of this congregation for a long time and a member since 2017. And she was involved in so many different ways of sharing her love of beauty and gifts, giving us opportunities to see the world through her eyes, which often saw the world with great beauty and finesse. Gloria also contributed most recently to our efforts to fund our immigration work and other justice work through her generous donations of materials that we could use for our sales. She was a member of our Women of Wisdom group and was much loved and supported by that group. We are holding Gloria Wiley in our hearts today. Let us take a moment to remember Gloria, and if you knew Gloria, take a moment to appreciate something of beauty today.
Now is the time in our service when we come together to bear witness to those joys and sorrows that are too great for any one of us to hold alone. If you have written in our book of joys and sorrows today, please come forward and light your candle as I read your entry. So the first candle is a candle for Marge Chappelle, who is writing, "I am now a happy, happy, happy 90 years old. I was taken to lunch on my birthday by my brother and remaining son and his wife." And while we're at it, I'm going to ask Scott to light a candle from the Caring Committee. And this candle will be a candle of joy to be lit for Isabel Johnson, who turned 102 on April 11th. She is our eldest member, and we light this candle to wish her happy and healthy year. And of course, the Caring Committee is also lighting a candle for Marge, who turned 90, as I said, on April 18th. She is a fabulous 90, and we all wish her also health and happiness all year. Tom Taylor is lighting a candle to thank you to Jen and her daughter for a wonderful breakfast last Sunday. Laura Zucker is lighting a candle this morning. Oh, Laura Zucker. Sorry, Zucker. Laura Zucker is lighting a candle this morning. In the 90s, I planted 3 seeds into this world, and I am beyond grateful that they are all blooming. Errol Reyes is lighting a candle. I just had my 3-year anniversary this year. I am grateful for this loving and supportive congregation, family, friends, co-workers, and my husband, soulmate Rodney. Thank you all for all of your prayers and well wishes. I'm asking Reverend Leslie to light a candle on behalf of Sandy Bonshahi in memory of her husband Beiruz's father, Rostam Bonshahi, who died peacefully on April 19th at the age of 91. Rest in peace. Also, Ronna Miller Owens is asking for a candle of concern to be lit for her mother, Lolly Miller Branda, who is currently hospitalized in Sutter, Antioch, and she would welcome visitors today if you have some time. And now I'm asking Reverend Leslie to light 2 final candles. The first represents all of the joys and sorrows not voiced aloud today, but still present in our hearts. And the second is a reminder of this imperfect but precious world and our role in making it more loving and more just.
Please remain seated and join us in our meditation song, I Know This Rose Will Open. The words and tune of this hymn were written by Mary E. Grigolia, a Unitarian Universalist minister. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open.
I invite you to join me today in the deep ask of prayer. And I invite you to do that because it is when we are faced with things that are larger than our own resources that we have to reach out beyond ourselves. And that is the time when whatever it is that we believe to be larger than ourselves, whether we call it spirit of life or God, or simply nature, Gaia, Mother Earth, community, comes into our hearts. So whatever name you give that which is sacred, that is larger than yourself, I invite you to bring that spirit into this space. Spirit of life, we stand before you today as people who know that we need to plant seeds of courage. Seeds of courage to hold the entirety of what is before us in this world, what is being faced by each of us and also by our very earth. We ask for courage. Courage that is already within us, a little seed that needs to be watered, not by our doubts and our fears, but by our faith, that though what we might do might be small, minuscule, like the tiniest of seeds, our actions, our intentions, and our commitments matter. Remind us in this time when we are gathered with others together that we are strong enough to plant those seeds. Remind us in this time when the voices of our children are still sounding in our ears that this is what we owe to those who come after us. This is our commitment. And so may we summon our courage to look at those fears we may have that may be keeping us still and inactive, and instead find the strength to plant even the smallest of seeds. This is our prayer. So may it be.
Good morning. I'm Brett Carson, if you didn't know. I want to introduce the band first. Corey Wright on reeds and flute. Safa Shokrai on bass. And then Adam Breyer on drums. Special thanks to Adam because normally our drummer is Jason Levis and he has pneumonia. So Adam's stepping in at the last minute and I really appreciate it. About the pneumonia or about you? Anyway, so we're the substandard quartet. The name comes from, it's funny, but also it comes from this idea, the kind of the mission of the group is to cover unusual and obscure music and reinterpret them as jazz standards. So instead of playing normal jazz, quote unquote jazz standards, we play B-movie soundtracks, video game music, what else do we play? Modern classical music. One of the things that we do is library music. So if you don't know what library music is, sometimes it's called stock music, production music. It's basically music that people can buy or license or have licensed to them from libraries. So for example, if you've ever been on hold with Kaiser, which I think a lot of you have, that's library music. Or if you've ever watched a YouTube video, watched a commercial, listened to a radio ad, watched educational programming. This is all probably going to have library music in the background. So why are we playing this music? I think it's really interesting to take music that is not intended to be listened to and bring it to the forefront and actually listen to it. Because there's actually a lot going on in this music. I think it's really interesting. If you really zoom in and listen to it closely, there's some good stuff happening. These are people who wrote these things, right? So I encourage you today, listening to us, and also going through your life, to listen to background music more closely. So next time you're waiting for a plane to board, listen to the music. There's some good music being played. So this is called La Danse des Méduses by a French composer named Dominique Guillot. I want to say this, all the music that we're playing today, all the special music, is library music from the 70s, because I like 70s library music. So enjoy.
Wow. My name is Kevin Shea. My pronouns are he, him, and his. Two things. One, forgot to mention that there is a forum this afternoon talking about the candidacy process for calling Rodney Lemery as a called minister, so I hope you all can attend. The second thing is that we now get to participate in a sacred ceremony that goes back thousands of years. And I know it goes back thousands of years because I have a story from the time of Jesus when the people were coming into the temple and giving their offerings, and there was a poor man who had 2 shekels. It's like 2 pennies, or 2 nickels, or 2 dimes. And the temple leaders was like, no, and he was gonna make an offering, and the temple leader said, no, we can't accept your offering. You only have 2 shekels. And Jesus said, you have it wrong. It's not that the temple needs his shekel. It's that he is so moved that you cannot take away his opportunity to show his gratitude. Flipping it around. And I was thinking about this offering this morning, and normally, I take out my wallet and I give a bill. And I thought about the lesson of this poor man who had so much gratitude for his religious community that he was willing to give one of his last 2 shekels. So, taking out my wallet, keeping one, and the rest is for this grateful community. The ushers will now come forward and humbly and graciously receive our offerings. Oh, I think that deserves a round of applause. Thank you, Quartet, for music that, in my opinion, demands to be listened to. We now dedicate our offerings with the words that are up on the screen. To the work of this community in transforming ourselves and our world, we dedicate ourselves and our offerings.
So when you're a hammer, everything kind of looks like a nail. And last November, when Brett introduced this library music to us, what I could think of was, this is fantastic. And I went home and immediately started doing a web search because I was so excited about this idea of paying attention to what's in the background. Because for a long time, I've been thinking that there are a lot of things in our background that we're not paying attention to, and we need to. So that was a great inspiration, and I'm really excited that this service got to happen. As we enter into this election season and we observe this Earth Day, here we are in 2024, there are a lot of things happening behind us that we might want to call to our forefront. You know, when you think about it, when we think about our mindful moment that we do now each week with our children, mindfulness is basically just that, right? It's calling the things that otherwise we might not notice into the foreground of our thought. And often we think of those as good things. We want to notice the sky and the trees and the flowers. And that's the positive side of mindfulness and paying attention to what's in the background. I'm really excited that we as a community have had a commitment all year to trying to increase our mindfulness, and that our new group, meditation group on Saturday morning, is thriving under the leadership of our amazing student chaplain, Travis McPhee. It's wonderful. However, there are some things about mindfulness that perhaps aren't quite as sanguine. For example, there is a whole new art in the world of politics, and it's called co-opting. Maybe you've noticed this. It's about co-opting the message. And if you remember back in the day when we had a president named Barack Obama, many people were initially supportive of the radical idea that people needed access to health care. Incredibly radical idea. His political opponents were not as excited, and a derisive term was launched, Obamacare. The idea was to play on the fears that many had about this particular president's race and his inclusive politics, which many of us, including myself, shared. But this idea of Obamacare was turned on its head yet again, because it turns out that Barack Obama is pretty good at spinning a message back. So he decided, okay, we can call it Obamacare. And as long as he was in office, that really worked. He had the ability to counter what was being put out there. And then, of course, his term ended and he stopped being president, which is a good practice for presidents. Just saying. And since then, the word Obamacare has once again been co-opted, turned on its head, and made to be a very derisive term. There's a couple other examples we could look at quickly. From the mid-1990s until very recently, the term liberal was weaponized, so that being a liberal was considered a very bad thing. Here's what Merriam-Webster says about liberalism. It's a supporter of policies that are socially progressive and promote social welfare, or a supporter of political and social philosophy that promotes individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Right? Doesn't sound that bad. But we all know that the co-opting of the message has turned that on its head, put it in the background that there's something wrong with being a liberal. Identity politics is another term. We had a very spirited conversation in our Wednesday night ministers class about this. It comes from a theory that was developed by Black feminists to talk about the ways that they could come together to enact actions they couldn't do alone because of where they were positioned in society. And it was taken up by others who were involved in what we now know as collective liberation. That idea that none of us are free until all of us are free. Again, not that difficult of an idea. But the idea of identity politics, when we hear it, or even when we think about it, because of the background that we're in, it feels kind of ominous. It feels like something is coming to get us. The Detroit public radio station, WDET, did an interesting piece on how the word woke became co-opted and then weaponized. This was actually first used by the Black community to talk about the fact that sometimes people will go along just trying to swim in the world that they're in and not think about the systemic conditions that change their interaction with that world. And then it was co-opted, actually, initially, this commentator said, by the white progressive community who used it as a badge of honor initially, and then by more conservative fronts. Detroit Public Radio Station said that it was, in fact, it traveled so far that it became an insult, and that is an example of how what's in the background begins to influence how we interpret something, even if we don't share the ideas that led to that decision. Daniel Kahneman has a book that has become a classic, I think, when we think about business books. It's called Thinking Fast or Slow, and it's one of the most successful business books of our era. He says, you may not know why you make your decisions because you may be influenced by different kinds of thinking. Some of it is the rational thinking, he calls that system B, but a lot of it is system A, the intuitive, emotional context of your decision that you might not even know because it's in the background, that it's influencing you. He says you may not know that you're optimistic about a project because something about its leader reminds you of your beloved sister, for example. Or you may not know that you are negative about a project because it reminds you of a boss who harassed or bullied you. Using both factors for decision making, he says, isn't a bad thing. But what's important is that you know that you are doing that. Because if you do, you have more information that can allow you to make a good decision. People who are cognitively busy are also more likely to make selfish choices, Kahneman says, because your wheels in the background are turning and turning and taking up so much space that you can't always measure the long-time consequences of your decisions. He says people who are stressed and filled with fear are less likely to make the decisions that will benefit them in the long term. And I want us to take a moment, just a moment, to think about this in this world in which we are faced with the impacts of climate change, something which causes a great deal of fear for us. And the other thing that Kahneman and his researchers have found is that fear takes up the most space in our background and makes it the hardest for us to make decisions from system B. When all of these things are looping behind us, we cannot make the decisions we want to. And there is a lot of background fear. In Seville, Spain, they now have rankings for heat waves in the same way that we've had rankings for the categories of hurricanes. It began in 2022 when a bunch of hot air was named Zoe and was rapidly outdone by a second wave named Iago, whose temperatures topped 110 degrees. A recent study concludes that 71% of the plastics, which have been produced since the 1950s when we first started to produce them, are still in place in our planet. And at our Place Council, just last week, we talked about the need to have a budget for removing the most flammable of our trees on campus as we approach fire season. These are the things that make the wheels behind us turn and make it harder to make decisions. This is what Daniel Gilbert and Timothy Wilson call creates what they call miswanting, exaggerating the effects of what will happen in our future. It's a psychological concept that refers to the tendency of people to desire things that actually will not make them happy or satisfied in the long run, especially when they're taking up a lot of their decision-making with what's running in the background. Like an authoritarian government, which might seem like a good answer for the short term, but not the long, or to ignore the causes of climate change, which most climate scientists say we can still reverse if we act soon. We know that there is a thing now called climate despair, and a study by Yale Center for Climate Communications found that about 3% of people overall would admit to significant climate anxiety where it's affecting their lives. 10% of those who are Latinx or Hispanic already experience that, and 4% of those who are Gen Z or millennials. So it's a significantly higher level for those groups. I worry more about the others of us who are spending a lot of time trying not to think about what's in the background, as opposed to just looking at it and facing it with courage, and then being ready to act. As a trauma survivor, I know that sometimes my fears that are lurking there don't make me make the best decisions. Some observers say that climate change is like a collective trauma for all of us. And it keeps us, if we don't face it, from being in the driver's seat, from not realizing the need to act and simply confront our fears. If we did so, we might make some small decisions, the cumulative total of which would make a difference, like taking one less airplane flight to reduce our carbon footprint, or learning to live without plastic because that's how we will create a new market for alternatives to plastic. And most importantly, working for the systemic change by, on a regular basis, letting our elected officials know that we care about this precious planet. So in this day, when we celebrate what's in the background, the beautiful parts, let's use that gift of beauty to also confront the things that we don't want to see. And in doing so, may we continue to embrace all that is our life and also to celebrate that this earth is forever turning.
Please rise or embody your spirit for our closing song, For the Earth Forever Turning. This hymn was written for Paul Winter's Misa Gala. Winter suggested a passage from Robert A. Heinlein's novel, The Green Hills of Earth, to inspire composer Kim Oller. For the earth forever turning, for the skies for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing with joyful songs of peace. For the mountain hills and pastures in their silent majesties, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing our joyful song of peace. For the sun, the rain and thunder, for the seasons' harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to Thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. Join our joy we sing, returning home to the blue green hills of earth.
A congregational forum that will start at 12:15, and I want to remind you all that last week you were invited to take some boats. There's some in the back, and some that our youth have made for us today. Take a picture of yourself doing something that represents your UU values and send it in to us. Thanks to those who've already done so. These are the words of our benediction as we extinguish our chalice. Climate change is a lot like death. We all understand it's inevitable, but few of us truly accept it. So much is going on with it all. Our choice is to be in love or to be in fear. Amanda Rebel. Let us take the commitments we share here together out into the world, and let's turn them into action and courage.